the moment the plane stalled, my pilot boyfriend subconsciously said to the co-pilot, if we were truly buried under the same piece of land, would it still count as growing old together? Later, their textbook emergency landing became a legend, while I, as the tower controller, voluntarily resigned. Much later, we met again on a flight he was piloting. Over the cabin broadcast, he spoke about waiting for someone to come home. I walked to the end of the jet bridge, waiting for him to disembark, and asked with a smile, Captain Ning, haven't you been buried together with Miss Sue yet? Short on money for a coffin? Chapter 1. Colin and I met at work. I had just graduated then, assigned to the busiest tower in Hikyo. During a stormy rush hour, two planes circling above started arguing, demanding to know which of them could land first. All right. The girl's voice is already hoarse. Can't you two gentlemen show a bit of courtesy? You're in a rush, but the tower's in a bigger rush than you are, right? Colin's cool, low voice came over the radio waves, carrying a kind of reassuring strength that instantly calmed me down. He was Blue Airlines' first prodigy pilot to make captain in just 4 years. Yet he only flew the toughest and most grueling domestic routes. Every time I was on duty, I'd hear his greetings over the radio, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Later, it became, good night, I'll wait for you to come home together. I was the one who confessed first. We lived together for 5 years. He was the perfect boyfriend, tall, handsome, gentle, disciplined. On red-eye flights, many female colleagues offered him snacks and coffee, but he only drank my terrible black-bone chicken soup. I'm not single. There's someone waiting for me to come home. So no treats, please. Colin's phone was always open to me. We shared each other's schedules and social circles. I thought there were no secrets between us. But one ordinary morning, when there were no planes in the airspace, my trainee casually mentioned some gossip to me. Boss, do you know that the lady captain flying with your boyfriend today, Atara? She didn't have a high education, but she dared to turn down offers from Delta and United to fly for Blue Airline. She's such a badass. I love her. I paused, then asked again for the lady captain's name. Atara, an uncommon English name, one that I would have never linked to a certain person, yet it had been on Colin's WeChat profile cover for 5 years. Colin hadn't posted anything on Moments for 5 years, and I once asked him what the word Atara meant on the bottom right of his cover photo. He laughed and didn't answer, only saying it was a nice picture. I didn't want to make connections, but was it really all just a coincidence? LS 3400? LS 3400. Please respond. Try calling them on the same frequency. My trainee's urgent voice interrupted my thoughts. My eyes shifted to the screen, where LS 3400, which should have been cruising at 10,000 meters after entering the Hikyo sector, had suddenly lost contact with the ground, its altitude dropping rapidly, and this was the flight Colin was piloting. Chapter 2. LS 3400. Please respond. Your altitude is continuing to drop. LS 3400. Do you read? My trainee's voice trembled uncontrollably as he looked to me for help. In those dozen or so seconds, my mind went completely blank, relying only on muscle memory. I took his microphone and repeated the call over and over again, like a perfectly running machine, executing the manual procedures flawlessly. The altitude was still falling the moment ground crews and ambulances were dispatched. I suddenly thought of Colin's hug before he left home. If you catch a cold, change your shift and stay home to sleep more. I'll make soup for you when I get back. If he and hundreds of lives vanished before my eyes, I might break down on the spot. A static sound. Then LS 3400's voice came through the radio. I immediately called, conveyed critical information, and inquired about the plane and passenger conditions. I asked several times, but all I got in return was Colin's tender whisper. Atara, if we were truly buried under the same piece of land, would it still count as growing old together? Even though the signal was so poor and the voice so faint, it felt deafening to me. Duty, responsibility, at that moment, they seemed to be thrown away by both of them. He was willing to be with her. Life and death intertwined. So what was I to him? Were the lives of those hundreds on board just something to give up on? Chapter 3. At 5:30 a.m. LS-3400 landed at Haikyo Airport at maximum speed. The crew's textbook maneuver soon went viral, becoming explosive news that day. But with that came investigation and accountability. Haikyo Tower, as the sector dispatcher, wasn't directly responsible, but the incident happened in my trainee's frequency, and later I took over, so we had to participate in the investigation to show the public a stance. After the incident, neither Colin nor I had the time to contact each other. When we met again, it was 24 hours later, with the entire crew and tower recreating the situation. I saw Tara Sue, sporting a neat bob, pale skin, deep features paired with willow leaf brows, a mix of heroism and the soft tenderness of a young woman. When asked if the tower had properly communicated information, Atara decisively shook her head. I didn't hear it, or I had no time for that nonsense. Atara sat up straight, speaking without reservation. I'm blunt. The female voice from the tower was illogical, unskilled, and her had a cutesy voice. In an emergency, it affected my judgment. Didn't you say you didn't hear it? Why are you putting my boss down then? My boss doesn't sound cutesy at all. I held back my trainee, my gaze instinctively shifting to Colin. He sat upright, his eyes empty and glued to the table from the moment he walked in, avoiding looking at me several times. I was sure he heard my calls over the radio and realized I had heard his declaration, which was why he was avoiding me. Yet the next moment, he spoke softly. Sorry, I was focused on the landing. I don't remember anything else. In fact, there were full recordings from the tower to testify for me. But with the crew's inconsistent responses and Atara's criticisms, the investigation would take longer, creating negative impacts. From Colin's response, I knew our relationship had come to an end. Chapter 4. Master. I'm so scared. The tower seems to be holding me responsible, but I just graduated and don't want to lose my job. My parents are sick, and I need money for them. What should I do? I didn't go home that day. I slept for 2 days straight in an airport hotel. When I woke up, the only message on my phone was this one from my trainee. Colin's chat box was empty. Opening social media, I was flooded with news of Colin and Atara being interviewed. They stood side by side in the sunlight, accepting praise and gratitude from countless people. It was said they were once classmates, facing challenges together, in perfect harmony. Meanwhile, the hashtag Haiqiao Tower's incompetence was trending, filled with criticism. Did Atara mention that someone had a cutesy voice? The control tower is supposed to be a serious place. Who was she trying to act cute for? Is she there to work or to find a man? Conspiracy theory here. Could the incident have anything to do with that cutesy voice? Maybe she was trying to compete with Atara and purposely withheld information. Come on, have some common sense, okay? The recording hasn't even been released, and you're making baseless accusations? Is the male captain with Atara? Atara seems open and genuine, but the way the captain looks at her seems not so innocent. Because of Atara's innocent remarks, even though the investigation wasn't over, public pressure was already forcing the ATC to punish the cutesy voice and issue an apology. And we all knew that the cockpit recording would never be made public. Even if I was proven innocent internally, they would still need to appease public opinion. Atara was clearly targeting me. What are you scared of? The online comments are all directed at me, not you. Just focus on your work. I replied to my trainee's message, deleted all contact information for Colin, submitted my resignation, and shut off my phone to go on a vacation abroad. She really went to great lengths. He's just a disgusting man. If Atara wants him, I'll give him to her. 5 days later, an unfamiliar text message popped up. Give me some time, Atara. She's different from others, but it's not what you think. I need time to sort this out. I don't have time. What about the apartment? Are you just going to leave your things behind? Do what you want. The rent's still paid. Throw my stuff out if you like. I don't need any of it. What about me? Are you just going to leave me too? I hesitated for a moment before replying to him for the last time. Before you ask that, think if you're even worthy. Chapter 5. Funny enough, on my first day alone abroad, I ran into a familiar face, Noah. There were 4 or 5 cameras surrounding him by the beach. He was leaning against a golden willow tree, posing in his white robes, his wavy hair gently lifted by the sea breeze and his breathing. He looked like the moonlight over a mountain, a snow-covered field on a sunny day, with a youthful and intoxicating charm. I stopped out of curiosity and watched for a moment. No one noticed me immediately, enthusiastically waving me over like a giant Samoyed wagging its tail. We moved to a corner to talk. After a few pleasantries, he urgently spoke up. "I've been trying to call you but couldn't get through. Help me out." Rose. The Lee family and the Liu family were old family friends, and Noah and I were both the youngest in our families. In these wealthy clans, we had the most freedom, whether becoming a movie star or an unprofitable air traffic controller. No one interfered. Ever since Noah became famous, we hadn't kept in touch much. Now, he seemed on the verge of hugging my leg and pleading, "I just want to focus on acting. But the company keeps forcing me into fake relationships. Pretend to be my non-industry girlfriend, you're the only one I trust. Actors date now? I'm not relying on popularity to survive. I'm a normal 27-year-old man. Can't I have a 28-year-old girlfriend outside the industry?" I was hesitating when the tower chief called in a rush. "Rose, did I say you could resign? I'm not even retired yet. And you think it's your turn to quit and take the blame? Come back to work. When the investigation ends, we'll give those people a hard slap in the face." Can I really go back? Fine. If there's still a chance, I'm going to make them pay for it. Nobody will get away unscathed. With that thought, I smiled and tilted Noah's chin up. "I'll help you, but you need to help me too." Chapter 6. The investigation of the aviation incident was going to take a long time, but LS 3400's impressive emergency landing was already a fact, and they were publicly commended for it. The airline announced that both captains preferred to stay low profile and declined further coverage of the incident, which earned them even more public goodwill. In contrast, Haiqiao Tower's Lee was given a demerit. The chief got a major demerit, along with a public reprimand. No specific reasons were disclosed, but everyone inside knew it was to appease public pressure. On the first workday after the storm, right after my night shift, I got dragged to a coffee meetup. The crews that frequently flew into Haiqiao Tower had a little group chat. Everyone knew each other, and they all cared about how I was holding up. As I approached the semi-enclosed booth, I heard a burst of hearty laughter. Atara was there too. Her candid and open personality was popular, and she easily blended in with everyone, treating them like buddies as she recounted the emergency landing. When I arrived, the atmosphere quieted for a second. Atara, holding an iced Americano, warmly invited me in, telling me not to feel out of place. "Since we're meeting today, let me apologize to Rose." Atara spoke before I could, with a hint of a mocking smile on her lips. "I just got back to the country, and my Chinese still isn't that great. I can be a bit blunt, and I thought MS." Lee's voice was especially sweet. Who knew I used the wrong words during the interview and caused a mess? "Lee, so much trouble? I hope you can forgive me." The two female flight attendants present remained silent, while the men eagerly tried to ease the atmosphere, saying it was all in the past. They hadn't heard the cockpit recording, so of course, it was all in the past for them. "Captain Su is young and promising. Why would I hold a grudge? No matter how bold you are, you still have to listen to instructions when you're at Haiqiao Tower. We'll have plenty of time ahead." Atara was momentarily stunned before responding sarcastically. "I was just joking with MS. Lee, is she really that serious? She's tough to please, isn't she? Guys, tell me, how do I get along with MS Lee without her sending me flying into the Yangtze River?" Haha. But after she spoke, the guys didn't laugh. Instead, the atmosphere became rather cold. After a short silence, the captain from Zhou Airlines, Oliver, spoke sternly. "Atara, some jokes aren't appropriate. Everyone here knows how capable Rose is. She once directed the landing of all rush hour flights with a fever of 39 degrees Celsius, without a single mistake. If you don't know her, don't talk about her like that." Atara quickly took a sip of coffee to cover her awkwardness. I casually remarked, "Captain Su is quite confident, bad-mouthing me in front of my friends. That's authenticity, I guess." Haha. Everyone joined in with cold laughter. Atara bit her lower lip in embarrassment, her fingers tightening around the coffee cup until her knuckles turned white. Several of the crew members had to go fly. As they left, none of them even glanced at her. The last flight to land was from Blue Airlines. Colin slowly approached, pulling his luggage. Atara's eyes immediately lit up. Colin, over here. Oh, come on. Help me out. I messed up in Chinese again and upset someone. Chapter 7. Colin spoke without hesitation. Atara hasn't been back in the country long, so don't take her words to heart. She didn't mean any harm. Most of the crew who were chatting had already left, so Atara leaned against Colin's shoulder, talking nonsense. Yeah, I don't even know what I said to upset Mess Lee. I had no bad intentions. Colin's body stiffened, and his gaze found me sitting in the corner, his expression suddenly awkward. Flight attendant Zoe spoke up. Atara, do you think we're deaf? Is that really what you said just now? Atara didn't care, and even looked at me with a hint of provocation. It was the instinctive trust and protective urge from Colin that she flaunted. She seemed like a victor, returning home in glory after 5 years, easily reclaiming the man's heart. I lowered my gaze and took Zoe's hand, smiling. Now that all the key players are here, why don't you both tell us about what happened during the incident? Colin hadn't expected me to bring it up, and frowned instinctively. I was so anxious in the tower at that time. I kept calling LS 3400, asking if they could hear me, what their situation was. And then, guess what Captain Ning replied? In an instant, everyone's gaze turned to Colin. His hesitation made Atara panic, and she instinctively gripped her coffee cup tightly. What did Captain Ning say? Tell us about your heroic deeds, someone urged. The air was silent for a long time. Colin downed 3 gulps of iced Americano before finally speaking in a hoarse voice. I reported the aircraft's condition, then focused on handling the emergency. Nothing more. If emotions had a sound, Atara's breakdown in that moment would have been deafening. She could no longer maintain her fake smile, and her eyes turned a flushed shade of grievance. Remember this, a weak, indecisive scumbag who hurt me will hurt the next woman in the same way. The debts you owe aren't just these. Chapter 8. The gathering ended there, but Colin wasn't ready to let things go. He followed me, wanting to talk alone. Atara and we're confidants, colleagues. That's all. Stop being upset. I was about to curse him out when a refreshing citrus scent filled the air. A pair of large hands wrapped around my waist, and Noah hooked down his sunglasses with his index finger. Greeting Colin. He still had his makeup on, blue-purple highlights hanging over his forehead. His unruly, expressive demeanor stood in stark contrast to Colin's stiff, stodgy appearance. Noah, using the hand wearing a couple's bracelet, took my bag and said gently, Sis, why aren't you heading home yet? I've been waiting in the van for a long time. Is this your colleague? Nice to meet you. I'm Rose's not yet public live-in partner. In an instant, the color drained from Colin's face. His gaze turned dark, and he coldly asked me, What do you mean by this? Are you really seeing someone else? Why not? What's it got to do with you if I'm dating someone else? We were in a blind spot for surveillance cameras. Noah stepped in front of me, glaring at Colin in annoyance. Should Rose date you instead? For what? Because you're older? Because you're lacking energy? You're really something. A few seconds later, Colin finally understood the sarcasm in the words. His eyes filled with a chilling rage, and as we turned to leave, he called my name heavily. Rose. There's no need to humiliate yourself just to get back at me. Noah wouldn't let me look back, stubbornly pulling my headphones off and placing them on my head. How strange. Is there a dog barking? Chapter 9. On the way out of the airport, Noah wagged his tail and asked if I thought he looked cool just now. If he really stood up for me, seeing I wasn't in a good mood. He reluctantly pulled out some investigative materials for me to look at. His cousin worked at United Airlines and recently returned to the country on vacation. At my request, he had recreated the entire LS 3400 incident on a simulator, offering some insights. The final investigation hadn't concluded yet, but I wanted to know, under what circumstances did they calmly accept their fate? The plane wasn't even at the point of no return. They didn't deserve any of this glory. I helped you, so you need to help me too. The apartment is ready. Move in as soon as possible so the reporters can catch us coming and going from the same complex. I paused, then nodded. I'll grab some documents and move soon. I had left in a hurry when we broke up, so some important documents were still in the rented apartment. So, I chose a time when Colin would be at work to go back. As soon as I entered the password and opened the door, the smell of sweet chicken soup filled the air. There he was, wearing a plush pajama set, busy making lunch in the kitchen. Why was he home at this hour? Colin's slender fingers pressed down on the celery, chopping it bit by bit. He glanced at me in the middle of it, his voice gentle. Go wash your hands. Lunch will be ready soon. I hesitated for a moment, then went straight into the bedroom to grab my things. When I came out, Colin was sitting obediently at the table, waiting for me to eat. His cheeks were flushed unnaturally, and he occasionally coughed, his handsome face showing a hint of fatigue. Rose, let's sit down and talk. Stop making this difficult. During the 5 years we were together, you were the only one in my heart. I loved you very much. There was no pretense. That made me furious. I pulled out a chair and sat down, mocking him. 5 years with no pretense. But you left a door open for your first love. The moment she came back, I was supposed to step aside. In your final moments, as long as she was by your side, you'd die without regrets. You're really good at making excuses for yourself. Colin coughed a few more times, pain evident in his expression. I don't know why either. I instinctively said those things, as if my body acted on its own. I'm really confused. There are many things I had no choice in. Give me some time to figure it out. Colin, let me ask you, during the incident, did you think about the passengers behind you? Were your words said in despair, or did you just give up from the start, ready to die with her? Colin's face turned pale, his gaze shattered, unable to meet mine, confirming my suspicions even more. You might as well admit that you like Atara and wanted to die with her. That'd be better than this, making me think you're a shameless, selfish coward, unworthy of wearing the airline uniform. Right in front of him, I threw the apartment key into the hot pot, ruining the meticulously prepared meal. You've avoided the truth about that day twice now. Are you afraid people will call you fickle? Or are you just scared they'll despise you for being useless? After leaving the apartment, I moved straight into Noah's place, just in time to celebrate Little New Year tomorrow together. Who would have thought? At 3 in the morning, I'd be woken up by a barrage of messages from Zoe. Ms. Lee, what's going on between you and Captain Ning? Atara's post is so gross. She reeks of green tea. I opened the images and saw Atara, wearing my pajamas and slippers, posting selfies at the hospital. Behind her was Colin, unconscious, hooked up to an 4. There were 9 pictures in total, with one in the center of 2 hands interlocked. The woman's pale wrist wore my bracelet, and on her index finger was a matching couple's ring. 104 degrees Fahrenheit fever. But thankfully I saved you. Twice now we've lived and died together. Bro? Disgusting. Every single word was utterly revolting. They were all things I didn't want anymore. Was she really that happy to indulge in trash? Chapter 10. My anger kept me from sleeping, so I opened up my feed and passionately ranted. Accidentally got dog shit mixed in while washing clothes, and someone else picked it up to wear. Someone please tell her. I feel so sorry for her. Zoe and a few of the girls instantly liked it. I was just about to check the comments when my entertainment app suddenly pushed a notification about Noah's latest update. Happy Little New Year. Have you all eaten dumplings? I had a sweet flavored one. The picture made me break out in a cold sweat. Noah had actually posted a photo of us together, photoshopped a pair of chopsticks on himself, and used a giant dumpling to cover me, pretending he was about to eat me. The related topic shot straight to the top of the trending list. Blinding me. Hashtag Noah the superstar announces relationship. Hashtag. Wait a second. Wasn't the plan to gradually let the reporters find clues over time? What's the point of dating if you can't be open about it? We're not sneaking around in someone else's clothes pretending to be buddies. Don't be afraid. Want some dumplings, sis? I really made dumplings with sweet flavored. They taste pretty good. Noah cozied up to me, his gentle gaze filled with nothing but my reflection, making my heart skip a beat. Something about him seemed different now. The boyishness was gone, replaced by the composure and steadiness that only belonged to a mature man. Chapter 11. Atara deleted the photos overnight. You should have seen her this morning. Her neck and arms were bright red. No idea how many times she scrubbed herself. Serves her right. Lou the movie star. Was that you in the photo? MS. Lee? Please. Just marry already. Ning and Sue are the worst. So many of us can't stand them. The day after the trending topic, Zoe created a separate group chat, adding everyone who disliked Atara, and named it the bride's family, which nearly made me die of laughter. Master, did you hear? Captain Ning and Atara had a fight. He made sure his schedule didn't overlap with hers, and they haven't spoken since. Should have done that ages ago. Atara is just bad news. During the handover before our shift, my trainee gossiped beside me. Ever since I took the blame last time, he had felt guilty, thinking I took the fall for him, and hated Atara for meddling in my relationship. I didn't want to discuss it, so I told him to go rest. The 2 weeks before the Lunar New Year were peak season, and we barely got 5 hours of sleep between shifts at the tower. Several controllers were pushing through despite being ill. Luckily, the crews were cooperative during times like this, following instructions precisely, communicating clearly, and minimizing delays. Lu 3334. Maintained ILS approach. Surface wind 100. Runway 36L is clear for landing. I can't hear you clearly. Say again. Lu 3334. Atara's voice came through the headset, with a teasing tone at the end. I frowned instinctively, adjusted her altitude, and repeated quickly, I can't hear you. 3 What L runway? Lu 3334. Lu 3334. ILS approach. 36L is clear. Do you copy? Do you need to change runways? 36 What runway? Lu 3334. Lu 3334. Runway 36L. Are you okay? I repeated myself 3 times, even listed some alternatives. When I heard a soft laugh over the radio, Atara spoke sarcastically. Little MS. Lee in the tower is getting a bit short-tempered. Huh? New Year's stress? Come on. Be patient. She heard me. She did it on purpose. I took a deep breath, finished my final 5 minutes of work, then headed straight for LU 3334's jet bridge after handover. The passengers were long gone, and Atara, the last to leave, was laughing and chatting with the male co-pilot. When she saw me, she lifted her chin to greet me. Good evening, MS. Lee. I really didn't hear you just now. Don't be mad. I'll make it up to you. I told her we needed to talk. In a blind spot for surveillance, I met her smirking face with a hard slap, quick enough to catch her off guard. You still think you're funny, huh? Do you know how many flights you disrupted up there? 3 simple characters, 3, 6, L, yet you can only remember 2 at random, right? Rose. Your jealousy means nothing. Colin instinctively said he loved me in that life or death moment. He chose me. Atara's hair was a mess, her eyes red as she lunged forward. But unfortunately for her, her height was no advantage. I grabbed her collar, twisted her arms behind her back, and ripped the name tag that said Atara off her chest. It's not your fault for being trash, but coming out to make others sick, that's crossing the line. Atara screamed and struggled a few times, but I had her pinned down. Heavy footsteps sounded behind me. As I let go, she threw herself to the ground, hitting her head hard enough to draw blood. MS. Lee. Please don't be mad. Colin and I are just friends. Really? Why torture me out of jealousy? Colin appeared before us, frowning as he looked at Atara. He instinctively reached out to help her. Rose. Don't make a scene here. Do you know who started this? You'd better shut that filthy mouth of yours, or I'll beat you too. Believe it or not. Chapter 12. Colin looked at me with a sorrowful gaze, as if I were a stranger. But this is who I am. Just because I usually spoke gently. Did you forget I have claws too? Rose. Not here. It'll be bad if you're seen, he said, shielding Atara behind him. I was done talking. Before leaving, I pointed at Atara's nose and warned her, remember this, if you keep it up, I'll hit you every time I see you. Scum like them, utterly unlucky. Because of the altercation, I was half an hour late getting into Noah's car. He handed me a hot Americano, his hand resting lightly on my neck, gently massaging it. Who upset our MS? Lee? You're all bristled up. Let me soothe you. I told him to hurry and drive home. I had to be back in 5 hours for my shift. Noah obediently started the car, a faint, mysterious smile tugging at his lips. When I rushed back for my shift the next day, my trainee was bouncing with excitement, shoving a printed A4 copy of the trending topic at me. Hashtag shameless captain harassing the control tower, leading to multiple flight delays. Hashtag someone posted the conversation between you and Atara from last night. It feels amazing. Who could have been that angel? I was just as surprised. How could this be such a coincidence? It was true that some residents near the airport could pick up radio frequencies, but how did it happen to be during my shift, at that exact time? Is this woman heartless or what? The tower's voice was hoarse, and she kept messing with them. Someone check which airline she's from. What kind of joke was she playing? Brain dead much? Couldn't remember 3 characters. Doesn't that voice sound like the female Captain Atara from a while back? The one who couldn't stop mentioning mess. Lee from the tower during her emergency landing interview. I think they already had bad blood, and she's just messing with the tower lady again. The top comments analyzed the situation expertly, as if they had been right there, reconstructing all my grievances with Atara. After liking 8 of them in a row, I felt something was off. I messaged Noah. Yeah, I did it. Any problem? No reason. Rose, you can have your own life. You can love another man, but no one gets to bully you or make you suffer. Chapter 13. The trending topic had a major impact on Atara, and we were called in to confront each other again. This time, the recording was crystal clear, leaving her with no defense. I don't understand why control towers here are so strict. Fine. Punish me if you want. Atara shrugged, then narrowed her eyes at me. But am I the only one at fault? The tower deliberately hurt me, so shouldn't Rose be punished too? Before long, Colin was summoned as a witness. Atara claimed he was there, that he saw everything. Short-haul flights were fully booked before the Lunar New Year, and Colin arrived in his uniform, navy suit, trousers crisp, and his tie tightly knotted. There was something repressed about him. I rolled my eyes, ready to let it all go, when I heard him say in a hoarse voice, "I'm sorry, but I can't testify." When I arrived, Atara threw herself to the ground. Rose didn't touch her, and I don't know whose handprint was on her face. Atara was stunned. Colin's lips curled into a bitter smile, his gaze filled with a kind of penitent devotion as he looked at me and spoke softly. "That's everything I saw. I've stated it truthfully." "Oh, not moved at all. The child is dead. And now you bring the milk? Where were you when I was being attacked online? When I was taking the blame?" With that thought, I rose and left expressionlessly, since it's not my fault. I'll return to my shift. You folks take your time. As I brushed past Atara, her eyes reddened with grievance. She angrily crumpled a paper cup and tossed it into the trash can. Rose, we'll have more chances in the future. Chapter 14. There isn't much future left. I already have 3 sets of simulation data. The first 2 experienced pilots couldn't replicate LS-3400's brilliant emergency landing. It wasn't until the third, a rookie, that I saw results. I asked him to do nothing for the first 10 seconds, only pulling the yoke at the last moment. He managed to produce data closest to LS-3400's, but still couldn't reach those extreme values. If Ning and Sue tried again, they probably couldn't achieve the same data as they did the first time. This is terrifying. I can only say that no pilot with any professional ethics and sanity would leave the controls untouched for 10 seconds. It's impossible. Sometimes the least likely answer is the correct one. Colin, Atara, you really deserve death. The busy travel season during Lunar New Year finally quieted down by the 4th day, and I got a 5-day vacation. This year, both our families went to Alaska for New Year's, leaving just me and Noah, the 2 left behind children. We decided to go abroad for a trip. Before departure at the airport, Noah checked everything in his notes from top to bottom. Phone case, matching couple style, clothes, subtle couple style, jewelry, wedding edition with special meaning. Hey, no, you drink from my coffee cup. Sharing cups is another thing for shippers to latch onto. I rolled my eyes dramatically, downed my own coffee, and hurriedly ran across the boarding bridge. To my surprise, right at the entrance, there was Colin, waiting to greet me. "Welcome aboard Blue Airlines LE5338. I'm your captain for this flight." He was dressed in a white shirt and trousers, sleeves neatly rolled up, standing behind two flight attendants, greeting passengers with a handsome, gentle demeanor that made many girls blush. What rotten luck. Did he think that testifying for me once would ease our relationship? Did Blue Airlines not have any other captains? "I'm never flying Blue Airlines again." Colin smiled and reached out for my ticket. Before I could respond, Noah appeared behind me, pulling out a handful of wedding candies and stuffing them into Colin's hand. "Take some of our good fortune in advance." He. Colin's composed and elegant smile cracked, his hand hanging awkwardly in midair, unsure of what to do. Chapter 15. The flight was just over 3 hours, smooth overall, except for a sudden captain's announcement during taxiing. "The current ground temperature in J country is -5 degrees Celsius. I wish you all a pleasant journey and a safe return home after the holiday. And I've been waiting for someone to come home too." I had been fast asleep, but that line snapped me awake like a thorn in my dream. Removing my eye mask, I saw Noah's face darken like the bottom of a pot, telling me not to stop him from committing murder. I coaxed him for a while, and just as he calmed down and went to the bathroom to wash his face, I turned, and Colin came walking slowly down the bridge with his luggage. The dim yellow lights elongated his shadow, making him look lonely. His eyes lit up the moment he saw me, as if life had returned to him. Did he think I was waiting for him? "Lee. Oh, isn't it Captain Ning?" I cut him off coldly, dripping with sarcasm. "Quite bold of you to use the captain's broadcast for anything. Huh? Did you forget about holding hands with Atara till the end? Why aren't you two buried together yet? Can't afford a coffin?" Colin stared into my eyes, his reddened eyes filled with either resentment or despair. He tried to suppress his emotions, his voice bitter. "Rose, do I have to die for you to forgive me?" I felt like I heard the biggest joke. Just then, Noah came out, and I linked arms with him and turned away. "Rose, if you soften even a bit for that guy, I'll kiss you immediately. I'll kiss you in the most crowded part of the airport. Let the whole world meet my girlfriend." Noah hooked down his sunglasses with his finger, glaring at me with those beautiful puppy eyes filled with warning. I laughed freely, suddenly pulling down my mask to kiss him lightly on the lips. Sis never feels sad over trash. Remember that. Chapter 16. No wonder it's a flight by the celebrity captain. I feel so secure. I heard Noah's going to make a movie based on Joe and Sue. Hurry up. I have to watch it. Two fans passed by, chatting about something that left me shocked. Noah shrugged indifferently, explaining, "I don't know what your motive is for investigating the accident, but since you helped me, I'll repay you. Instead of finding others to simulate, why not talk to the people involved? Spend some money to hire them as consultants. Wouldn't that be better to recreate the truth?" Atara readily accepted the producer's invitation, and Blue Airlines wouldn't refuse a chance to make money. Even if Colin had 1,000 reasons not to, he couldn't say no. The movie went into production quickly. I disguised myself as Noah's assistant on set, finding opportunities to leak couple items to the reporters. With no one around and the crew still in a meeting, Colin and Atara sat in the simulation cabin, mimicking their positions back then. One relaxed into the seat, greedily basking in the nostalgia. The other, haunted by nightmares, didn't dare touch the yoke. Suddenly, Atara spoke softly. "Do you know what I was thinking during the stall? I wanted to ask you out for a drink. I still had so much to say to you. But if time stopped at that moment, it would have been the ultimate romance. Blood entwined, clinging to each other till death. I'd never let go of your hand." "Shut up. Stop spewing nonsense. I never thought about any of that," Colin snapped, furiously undoing his harness to leave. Atara stood immediately, hugging him from behind. "I'm scared there won't be a next time, that I won't hear your promise to grow old together. So let's get back together. Please forgive my recklessness from 5 years ago. I'm setting aside all my pride. Begging you now. I can't just be friends. I love you." Their two slender shadows overlapped intimately, and I stood just a little distance away. Atara's gaze swept over me, taunting, triumphant. full of the joy of victory. As for Colin, he looked as if he was staring into the most terrifying depths of hell, his hands trembling uncontrollably, his eyes unfocused. I chuckled, slowly stepping closer. Captain Sue was right. In moments like that, people really do think about the ones they love the most. Captain Ning, what are you afraid of? With those last words, Colin crumbled and fled, leaving Atara standing there, dumbfounded, not knowing what went wrong. Chapter 17. Once the filming period began, there was an outdoor shoot set in Bali, and we all had to fly there together. We chose Joe Airlines for the flight, with Captain Oliver, an old acquaintance, at the helm, and Zoe in the cabin. Both of them were in the bride's family group chat and showed no politeness to fellow consultants Colin and Atara. Colin was irritable, and during takeoff, Atara tried to bring up LS 3400's romantic declaration to win him over. TCH. Noah cut her off impatiently. Lady, if you want to be buried together, can't you wait till we're off the plane? Don't disgust the whole cabin of passengers. Maybe his crow's mouth came true during a quiet cruising phase. An unusual bout of turbulence shook everyone awake. Ladies and gentlemen, the plane is experiencing turbulence due to external airflow. Atara and Colin instinctively exchanged glances, both turning pale with anxiety. Within seconds, the cabin experienced a strange weightlessness. A fear beyond words swept over everyone. The lights above flickered out, and oxygen masks dropped automatically. Please fasten your seatbelts and put on your masks. In the midst of the chaos, someone screamed Captain Colin, and the cabin fell miraculously silent. Colin and Atara are here. They're the most professional captains in the world. Don't be afraid. With them here, nothing will happen to us. I don't know airline regulations, but people seem to pin all their hopes on Colin and Atara, praying for them to go to the cockpit and work a miracle. I was close enough to clearly see both of their pale faces, sweat rolling down their cheeks. Colin tried to reach forward, his broad hand cutting through the air, but, besides trembling, it accomplished nothing. Atara was the same. In those near-hopeless minutes, Noah gripped my hand tightly, his voice eerily calm. Don't be scared. Wherever we go, I'll be with you. Chapter 18. From the plane's stall to its successful emergency landing, every step seemed like a reenactment of the LS 3400 incident. Surviving passengers wept with joy and didn't forget to post videos praising the miracle captains. It's Colin and Atara's flight again. Another close call. Those two are incredible. Sisters. Guess what? Colin and Atara saved me again. Blue Airlines flooded the trending topics with promotions, while Joe Airlines, where Oliver's crew was, remained silent. 2 days later, I saw Oliver at a gathering. He had dark circles under his eyes, took a few swigs of his drink, and said, an identical incident to LS 3400, the investigation results will be announced next week. The A665 MAX model by Gene has been grounded fleet-wide. There's a serious software flaw. It locks the yoke during cruise, auto-adjusts the nose up to correct angle of attack. It's like a joke from God. My co-pilot and I tried everything, pushing the plane to its limits to get it up again. And what did Gene's engineers say? They said, don't touch the throttle or yoke. Just do nothing, and the software will restart on its own, allowing the plane to stabilize itself for an emergency landing. Who the hell would let go and just wait to die? I'm flying a commercial aircraft. I have hundreds of passengers behind me. I have to try something, right? Who wouldn't? I took a bitter sip of my drink, and Zoe suddenly slammed the table in frustration. Seriously, Oliver and his co-pilot saved that plane with their lives on the line. Now, all the trending topics are about Ning and Sue. Blue Airlines buying ads. How shameless is that? Bullying Joe Airlines because of slower internet? Her complaints weren't baseless. As this wave of popularity surged, Atara's studio account officially launched, attracting over 8 million followers in 12 hours. Fans filled the comments, reminiscing about Atara's glorious deeds. Sister Atara, did that cutesy voice tower lady quit yet? I told you she must be guilty. She bought trending topics recently to take things out of context and frame you. How shameless. Atara soon replied, a little grievance doesn't matter for me. Everyone, don't do anything foolish on my behalf. Chapter 19. Things had come this far, and Atara felt no guilt. Her head was still filled with petty competition. She was the co-pilot of LS-3400. I didn't have time to worry about the comments online. Instead, I focused on compiling data, which I anonymously mailed to Colin's house, a report reconstructing the entire incident. On the last page, I wrote 3 big characters: "You are unworthy." Instead of making a scumbag face consequences, it's better to become his eternal psychological shadow. Driving him mad is far more satisfying than beating him. That night, after I sent the anonymous report, the investigation results for both incidents were released, causing an explosion online. Among the flood of netizens, one tower recording surged to the top, directly hitting the trending list: the control tower audio from the day of the LS-3400 incident. The person who exposed it was my recently resigned trainee. Is Atara worthy? Listen to how she twisted the facts and threw dirt on my colleague. Ms. Lee at Haiqiao Tower was doing her job, but in the interview afterward, Atara portrayed it as cutesy talk, guiding public opinion to attack her, leading to her punishment. Why does a woman like Atara deserve to be your goddess? The tower chief was stunned and asked if I could reach the trainee. I opened our chat. The last message was from 4 hours ago. I'm not scared. It's my turn to take responsibility for you. Chapter 20. So Atara made up lies about the tower controller, calling her cutesy voice just to bully her. All for a man? The guy's disgusting too. He had a girlfriend but said those things to a female colleague? Really loves his first love. Huh? Hold on. Didn't anyone notice? How did they have time to confess during the incident? What were they even thinking? The more I think about it, the scarier it gets. Were they trying to? Public outrage reached a new peak, especially after Jean's ridiculous justification went public. They claimed that if pilots did nothing for 10 seconds, the plane could still land safely, that the software posed no danger. The overwhelming attention dominated all platforms until, half a day later, Colin finally couldn't take it anymore. 10 seconds of no action wouldn't lead to a safe landing. I'm proof of that. During the incident, I didn't do anything. It was sheer luck that we survived. Those emergency landing metrics are impossible to replicate. After this statement, the trending topics remained silent for a long time. Soon, Colin and Atara's accounts were both banned. The trending topics vanished, and no one on the internet mentioned it anymore. So, he had nothing to do with the emergency landing? Then what did we consider our genius captain? What did he take us for? Chapter 21. After the news spread, the bride's family group chat erupted, and Zoe warned me not to be swayed by Colin's sweet talk. Him taking the blame didn't make him a good person. I knew that. Of course, if the tower recording hadn't been exposed, if I hadn't sent the anonymous mail, he would never have stepped up. If he really felt guilty, he would have come forward and apologized a long time ago. This is the reckoning he deserved. Blue Airlines was involved in the whole affair too, hiding crucial data to avoid a stock crash. They decided to protect Colin and let Atara take full responsibility. Not long after, the official notice was released. After investigation, all errors regarding LS-3400 were solely the fault of Atara. She has been terminated by Blue Airlines, and the airline urges industry colleagues to blacklist the rogue pilot. Half a day after the announcement, Colin's social media account was unbanned, and he posted a brief message. I had a stable relationship with my ex-girlfriend Ms. Lee, and we broke up amicably. There was no infidelity. The tower recording was deliberately manipulated by Sue during the incident, and I will pursue legal action for the negative impact it caused. Overnight, Atara became an unemployed outcast, despised by all. Chapter 22. Months later, despite the widespread doubt among the audience, the movie based on the LS-3400 incident was released. At the premiere, angry fans barged in and threw eggs at Atara's name. Before being escorted out, they also spat harshly at Colin's name. Pa. Worse than any woman, the movie's plot was just like an ordinary disaster film. But when the stall reoccurred, Noah, playing the captain, reacted entirely differently. He trusted his crew, flipped through manuals, and followed emergency protocols. He trusted his professional ability, checked the panels and data, refusing to give up until the last moment. He trusted the control tower. Don't be afraid. I'll bring you and the passengers home safely. This film isn't about heroes. It's about an ordinary day in the life of every civil aviator. Because of the uniform, they uphold their responsibilities. After the premiere, a fan asked Noah what the protagonist would say to his girlfriend if things had gone wrong at the end. Noah stood in the spotlight, his gaze cutting through the crowd, landing on me, calm and gentle. I'd probably tell her I want to be the ex she's most proud of.